So, hello, good morning, students. So, I shall be taking today lecture on soma clonal variations under the topic mutation breeding. Mutation, you people all know, any change in the genetic makeup of an organism, we call them as a mutation. So, genetic changes within the organism over a period of time are the basic driving force behind the evolution. So, soma clonal variations and mutation breeding. The source of most of the breeding material begin with the mutation. So, mutation, as I told you, is the driving force behind all uh, behind evolution. These are also the source for breeding or molecular breeding or whatsoever it is. Whether the mutation occur in a modern cultivar or a landrace, a plant excision, a wild relative species in an unrelated organism, wherever it may be. Mutations are basically very important aspect of living organism, but we call it as a dynamic change or the change in the living organism. The all driving force behind that is mutations. And the sources of variations are mutation. The plant, we say we get the variations. The variation can come in the plants by the virtue of mutation or by the virtue of hybridization, which can be sexual as well as asexual. Polyploidy, this is also one of the important aspect of bringing in the variations, or sometimes there is no change in the genetic makeup but we see change in the phenotype, and this change can result from the altered expression of the genes, and this altered expression of the gene comes under the study of epigenetic changes. Then comes the soma clonal variation is the general phenomena during plant regeneration. So where the soma clonal variation by definition is, these are the variants which are or variation which are generated in the culture in tissue culture. We call that soma clonal variations, and the variants we call them the soma clonal variants. Generally, it has been seen that when we undergo the process of regeneration. So what do you mean by regeneration here? I just wanted to tell you earlier also, what is a regeneration? A regeneration. What is this? So when we have some tissue which do not have any kind of organ forming buds or something like that, suppose we have a leaf. We have a leaf, and the leaf, you know, neither it has bud or nor it has anything else. If we develop a shoot bud from the leaf, it start growing, or we develop a somatic embryo from the leaf. So this process is called regeneration. Both is called regeneration. So we call it as regeneration. Now, so when we have something like that, it has a pre-formed nodes, and if we culture this, here is a bud, already bud. If this bud grows, normally it happens, is axillary bud. This is not a regeneration. So this is not a regeneration. So that is the difference between regeneration. That's what we call it, the regeneration. When this regeneration takes place from the callus or involve the callus intervening callus phase, what we call it as indirect regeneration. You remember to my lecture on morphogenesis, when we go through the process of indirect regeneration, then there is ample chances of getting soma clonal variation. The soma clonal variation can be of two types. One is heritable genetic changes, which comes as a result of mutation, changes in the chromosome numbers, polyploidy, aneuploidy, all that. And this kind of variations are called heritable variations. And when there is no heritable changes, but still we see the variation in the phenotype, we call that as epigenetic variation. This comes as a result of altered gene expression, and such variations are not heritable, or non-heritable. So what happens to these? Generally these type of soma clonal variants, this type of soma clonal variant, they revert back to the natural phenotype after few cycles of growth, vegetative growth in the field, because this variation is only as a result of altered gene expression due to the presence of plant growth regulators. Now, soma clonal variation is a kind of mutation. Generally, the heritable soma clonal variation are a kind of mutation. So that mutation can be a simple gene change, or this can be a bit complex one. So this is a heritable changes. Hello students, there is a one question to you. Hello, is there someone?
Yes, sir.
Bache, can you please let me know what is the basic unit of mutations? Yes, cistron is a unit of gene. Anna? So what is the unit of mutation? It's a muton. Okay. So let us look at the mutation breeding in some more detail in the next slide onward. So mutation breeding, alteration in the genetic makeup of a plant that may or may not get reflected in the phenotype. So one thing is very sure, the mutations which are there in the genome of the organism, many a time it get reflected in the phenotype, and many a time it is not getting reflected in the phenotype. That doesn't mean the mutation has got. In both cases, it's a mutation. Any alteration in the genetic makeup is a mutation. In 1927, Muller induced mutation in the fruit flies using X-ray. So what are the fruit flies? Do you know? What is a fruit fly? Students, it's a very interesting thing to know. You people know it, but you are not able to correlate it. What's a fruit fly? Hello? Hello students? Asta?
Yes, sir.
What is a fruit fly? Do you know? Have you heard of Drosophila?
Yes, sir.
What is that? What is the importance of this organism? Drosophila, बहुत सुना होगा नाम इसका.
Yes, sir. We can manipulate the genes easily.
No, it is used in the genetic studies. It is as P is a model organism for genetics in plants, Drosophila is a model organism for the study of genetics in the animal kingdom, insects. Okay, it's a very important organism. When we were students like you, I was having a lot of craze to see this fly, but I could not see. And then one of my senior, he just told me that you take a banana, just half peel it off and keep it in the room for a few times, for 1 or 2 days, and after that time the small flies will be flying there, you will see, and these all are Drosophila. Okay, so you people can also see the Drosophila, like that's a very small fly, very small, just like a mosquito. Then Stedler induced mutation in barley. Stedler used this study to induce mutation induction in barley. The term mutation breeding was first coined by Frischelben and Lyon in 1944, when they were using this mutation to generate the variation and then using these variation to develop new novel cultivars, and then he called that study as mutation breeding. Mutation breeding was first non-traditional tool. It was the first non-traditional tool. So traditional breeding, it is a sport to the traditional breeding, and it was the first sport or first non-traditional tool to help the breeder to expand its horizon to get the new cultivar or new. What's the job of the breeder is only to develop the new cultivar. Today there are three schools of thoughts regarding mutation breeding. So there are three different people who think in a different way. Some says it is not a useful process, and same can be accomplished by the conventional breeding. Okay, so I hope you understand it. They say that it's a just useless thing. We can do everything with the conventional breeding. We don't require mutation breeding. Others say second school consider that mutation breeding can result in important breakthrough with efforts. That if we put up the efforts, we can just get very, very important and novel things by the process of mutation breeding. And third group said it is just a tool to meet the specific objective, nothing more than that. So this is what the people think about the mutation breeding. But personally, if it is I have to think, I would say, go with the second option. It's a very important tool. When suppose let's take the example that you have a flower which doesn't have a particular color, okay, and you want that color to come. So breeding cannot get you that color there. So first chance is over. Second chance, if we undertake the process of mutations, then there's a possibility that we may get that color there. Okay, so that is what exactly the meaning is. Then how we induce the mutations? There are different mutagens which are used for the induction of mutations. This can be physical mutagen, that is bombardment with the high energy radiation, alpha particle bombardments. That can result in the change in the genetic material by damaging the chromosome, resulting in various chromosomal aberration. Chromosomal aberration is that you have a chromosome, say this is a chromosome, and you know this arm get broken from here, this arm get broken from here. So and maybe it, after getting broken, it gets attached in a reverse order. This gets attached here and reverse order, and that is all kind of variation or changes in the arrangement of the chromosome, rearranging the chromosome. We call them as a chromosomal aberration. Is a translocation, transversion, and all that 4 or 5 types are there. So that deletion, insertion, all these are there. So that kind of changes can take place with that heavy damaging particles. Then gamma and beta and X-rays, they are not that much damages, but they can cause the variation. They can cause the point mutation. Point mutation are, you have a, can someone tell me what is a point mutations? Point mutations? Nitin? Nitin Dua? Nitin? Hello, Nitin? Nitin? Jaskaran?
So there's a mutation in a single nucleotide.
ये कौन जसकरण बोल रहा है?
Yes, sir.
There is a mutation in the single. Yes, that is what one particular nucleotide in the sequence get changed, and that can result in the bigger change. Suppose there is a deletion of one particular nucleotide in the ORF. You can expect the frame shift mutation. What we call it as a frame shift mutation. That is, all triplet gets changed, changing all the amino acid downstream that. So they are very important mutations. So these kind of mutation can take place by the these kind of radiation. Then UV radiation, non-ionizing radiation also result in point mutation, very less penetrating. UV is having very low penetration power. It do not penetrate deep into the tissue. So penetration power is low, that of a ultraviolet radiations. Sorry. So chemical mutagens, there are many different chemical mutagens which are used that result in the damage of the DNA, damage to the DNA. This has also been used. If we just want to make the polyploidy, induce the polyploidy, it is treated with the colchicine. There are other chemical mutants which can result in the changes in the system. And then callus culture is one of the other, because callus culture by definition is a unorganized mass of cells. Beside unorganized, these callus cells, they are known to have many different ploidy level. They can be polyploid, aneuploid, they can be with the deletion of certain chromosome, duplication of other chromosome, or something like that, all sort of combination, and that results in the variation. These variation are the driving force behind the soma clonal variations. All soma clonal variations are due to these variations. These are the force behind the soma clonal variation. They get by the changes in the callus cultures. They are the basic. अरे यार ये क्यों अपने आप चल रहा है? So basic mutation breeding steps. What are the steps in mutation breeding? Expose the tissue or a propagule to the mutagen. We first induce the mutation by any of the three methods which we have studied in the previous slide. This can be physical, chemical, with different doses. So mutagens always have doses. Have you heard of LD50? So we just revolve around the LD50. Okay. And then once we have exposed to the mutagens, then we grow the original treated propagule and test the plants, M0. We call them M0. We grow the propagule, regenerate plant and test them. We call them as M0 plants. Then phenotypical evaluation of the mutations is carried out to select the dominant mutation. So phenotypic changes will only be recorded in case of the mutations are dominant. The recessive mutation are not observed that in that way. So on M0 we will not score the recessive mutation. We will only score the dominant mutation. And many times the recessive mutations are also useful. They are equally useful as the dominant mutation. In order to evaluate the recessive mutation, we sexually reproduce M0. We will get the segregating population. We grow the segregating population, and there we may be able to spot out the recessive mutations, and then we select those mutations for progeny selection for desired character. We select the mutation for the desired characters and test for stable inherited. And then till now they are not stably inherited mutations. Then 1 or 2 generations these are further tested, and it is seen that they are stably inherited to the subsequent generations, and then they are selected as a stable mutants. So take home message is, expose the culture to the physical or chemical mutagens, any one of those, and then we grow them. We get the plants, we test those plants. If we spot the mutants, they are the dominant mutations, one way. However, there are recessive mutations which can go unnoticed. Then to get the recessive mutants, we just sexually reproduce the M0 and grow the M1 plants. So after M0 we get M1. What we call is that F1 and F2. So M1 is equal to F2 here. So this F2 will have the M2, M1 will have the segregating population, and these segregating populations may get us the recessive mutation also, and then we select the desired mutations and study it for 1 or 2 generations for to select the stable inheritable lines. Then procedures for soma clonal variation. These were the mutations. Cultures are the initial material in case of soma clonal variation. We work with the plant tissue cultures. So we work with the cultures. Single mutant cells are targeted. So we target the single mutant. We may have the 1 mutant cell in the culture. We target that cells and increase the population of those cells in cultures. Mostly it is carried out in the cell suspension cultures and callus culture. Callus cultures are very promising in case of soma clonal variations. Callus cultures. So mutation can also be induced. We can also, this can be the normal mutation which are existing within the species. Or what we can do, we can take the culture, and induce the mutations using mutagens. That can also be done. And then we get the selection pressure. This is very important aspect of soma clonal variations. So suppose we want to select the from the callus culture, we want to select the lines which are salt tolerant. So what we do, we take the callus or suspension cultures, and then what we do, we grow the cells on elevated levels of salt. So only those cells will grow which can tolerate the salt. Other cells will not grow. So the population of those cells will increase, and we can regenerate the plants, regenerate of plants from the selected cell lines, and then evaluate the regenerated plant for the target trait. Suppose here we took the example of salt tolerant. When we generate the plants, these plants, when we regenerate these plants, then we evaluate them if they are salt tolerant or not. If they are salt tolerant, and then we study them further and select the stable salt tolerant lines. So that is how we go about this. This is one of the example. Suppose this plant we want to select the salt tolerant line. Just giving the example. We grow the suspension cultures. So say in the suspension culture, this cell is only salt tolerant. We grow this all on the high salt concentration. So these cells will not grow there. Only this cell will grow, and we will get the population buildup of this cell. And then we regenerate the plant from these cells. So this regenerated plants from these cells will be tested for the salt tolerance, and we will see if it is a salt tolerant, and then we can use this plant for the various purposes. Or what we can do, suppose these are the cells, there is no variance, so we expose these cells to the various mutagens, either chemical or physical. So some of the cells will get mutated, and out of the mutated cells, only few cells, out of that only few cells may have the salt tolerance, and then we carry out the same. So from here to here is the selection pressure. Here is the mutation. We go by the way, this is the induction of mutations, and this is the selection pressure, where we here the selection pressure. So we induce mutation here, and the selection. We give the selection pressure for the selection. Suppose we want to select the salt tolerant cells, then we grow it on high salt concentration. Suppose we want to test check this for say resistant to particular pathogen. So what we do in that case, we grow this on in the presence of pathogen, or we grow with the in the presence of toxins of the pathogen. So what kind of selection pressure will give, that kinds of cell will get selected, and the regenerated plant is likely to have that trait. It's likely to have that trait. So that is how we undertake the process of mutation breeding through soma clonal variations. So this is one of the experiment which was conducted by me to select the mutants of flower color in case of gladiolus, flower color. So I was working with the two varieties. This is Aldebaran and this is Her Majesty. These are the two natural varieties we were working, and I regenerated thousands and thousands of the plant through callus culture of both and put those plants in the field. And in the field, you can see this plant is growing, and from the plot in the field, this is the original plant color, and you can see we get one plant with this color and one plant with this color. So out of thousands of plants, these two plants were selected which was having varied color with respect to the mother plant. And this varied color with respect to the mother plant, when it was tested, it was found that these are the genetic summa clonal variants of this cultivar. However, in this cultivar, we did not get any summa clonal variations. So callus, from culture we developed callus. From the callus induction, we repeatedly subcultured the callus for many cycles. Say we did it, this maintain this callus by repeated subculturing for 2 to 3 years. And after 2 to 3 years, we tried the regeneration of plant. When these plants were grown and these plants flowered, we see we could get the summa clonal variations. So in this plant out of 1000, we get 2 variants. In this plant out of thousands, we did not get a single variation. And this is another plant we were working. This is the color pattern in the petals, and you will see and appreciate here many variant colors were there in the plot, and about say 50% plants were showing the variations in this particular thing, and these variants were then selected. Now the summa clonal variations can be screened by the process, by in vitro screening also. We can select the summa clonal variation. Suppose we have the cultures, we get the callus culture. We can repeatedly grow the callus culture so that the callus is having some kind of variations. Then stress inducing factors are selected. Say it can be salt, it can be any pathogen, so biotic or antibiotic stress inducer. If it is a salt, it is abiotic stress inducer. If it is a toxin to any pathogen, it is a biotic stress inducer. And we select the lethal dose of that particular lethal dose, not LD50. We select the lethal dose and grow the callus along with the lethal dose. In the lethal dose, normal cells will die. Only resistant cells will grow. So callus species on stress for selection with the lethal dose. So selection cycles are repeated to get the tolerant cells. So this selection pressure is repeated for the different subculture cycles, so long as we get some cells growing which are showing tolerant to that selection, and then we regenerate plants and test those regenerated plants for the resistant either to biotic or abiotic stress. Mind this, that we will ultimately get the result for which we will do the selection. If we do this selection for the salt tolerant, we will get the salt tolerant plant. If we say salt resistant or tolerant plant, if we do it for a particular pathogen, it will not be for all pathogen. Suppose we are doing the potato for late blight resistant, then we will only get the resistant plant to late blight. So that is for which we put that selection pressure that will determine what we get at the end. So this is the way to get the plant by in vitro selection pressure. So there are two ways of selection pressure. Selection can be in vitro, as we did it here, or it can be also ex vitro. That is, we produce plant without selection, and then we select the resistant plant in the field. So that is called ex vitro. This is in vitro selection. So what are the this is in vitro selection and this is ex vitro selection. Here we did not carry any in vitro selections. We did the selection only in the field and try to fish out the mutants in the field. This is called ex vitro selection and this is called in vitro selection. So then summa clonal or mutation breeding advantages. What are the advantages of summa clonal or mutation breeding? advantages are very high population of cells can be screened effectively. So this is the advantage. We can carry out the screening of thousands and thousands of cells or even millions of cells in one flask. And if even one cell is variant in that, that can also be selected. It's a very efficient way of selection through the soma clonal variation. The selection pressure can be applied at different stages. So we have a possibility of applying the selection pressure at different stages. Suppose we apply the selection pressure in the culture, then we can apply it in the suspension, we can apply in the callus, we can apply it to the shoots or embryos. Anything can be selected, and then we can regenerate the plants from there, and we get the soma clonal variants. So these are the two big advantages of particular soma clonal or mutation breeding. And then what are the disadvantages? So many a time the mutant generated through callus culture, which is showing epigenetic changes, these are non-inheritable. After 1 or 2 cycles in the field, even by the vegetative propagation, these changes, they revert back to the normal phenotype. Changes they are misleading and they get washed away. And second is, if we do not screen the M2 plants, we only target M1 plant, we can only target the dominant mutations, dominant variations, or double recessive variations can only be reflected there. What do you mean by double recessive? Students, what do you mean by double recessive? Hello? Students, what are double recessive? Prince?
Yes, sir.
What are double recessive, bete?
So I don't know.
Okay, it's good. The best thing to confess, I don't know. Bete, double recessive hoti hai. If we have generally plant will have a pair of chromosome, one from mother, one from father. If both the chromosome, they carry the recessive gene, we call it as double recessive. That means homozygous recessive. Double recessive means homozygous recessive. Here particularly, if the mutations are recessive and they are present on both, they take place on both the chromosome, we call them as double recessive mutations. But these mutations are very, very rare, very, very rare. The rare possibility of double recessive mutations. The most mutations are recessive, and we are not able to track the recessive mutation in M0. Recessive mutations are not reflected in M0 population. Not reflected in M0. Recessive mutations. If they are heterozygous, mostly they are heterozygous, and they went unnoticed. We can overcome this constraint by avoiding the selection pressure in the culture, and you lose the advantages of high throughput screening. So what if we do the screening in the field after sexual reproduction, then what the advantage we get high throughput screening here, we lose that advantage. Okay, we don't get. So that can be done. We can overcome this problem of dominant recessive selections. But these mutations are many a time very important, recessive mutation. So what we can do, then we can, after selection, we cannot do the selection in the in vitro in case of heterozygous recessive mutants. We have to regenerate the plant. We have to get we get M0 sexual reproduction, M1 segregating population. We may get or we may not get the mutants, and then we undertake M2, and if they are there, we may be able to spot one in the M2. and then we have to do all this kind of work there, and then it becomes a very, very cumbersome exercise of selecting the recessive mutants, particularly if they are heterozygous recessive mutants, which are mostly the heterozygous recessive mutants. And recessive mutations are, it has been found that they are most useful mutations, or useful mutations are recessive mutations. Alternately, there is an alternative to that, recessive mutants. We can still have the alternative of, we can get the advantages of in vitro screening if we combine two techniques. That is, we grow haploid callus, and then induce the mutation in the haploid callus. In the haploid callus, there is nothing like recessive and mutant. Every mutation will get reflected. Every mutation will get reflected. And if we do it through the haploid cultures, probably we can get the advantage of through high throughput screening, and we can select the both dominant as well as recessive mutations in vitro, and then we can go further. So there are certain cases where the successful soma clonal variations has been taken up. These successful cases are herbicide resistant or herbicide tolerant plant. Resistant plants are able to metabolize the target herbicides. So the resistant lines which were selected in the presence of high concentration of herbicides, it was found that these lines are able to metabolize the herbicide. The tolerant are able to grow in the presence of herbicide. So we get the herbicide resistant plant. One of the successful application of soma clonal variations have been selection of tolerant plant to glyphosate. Glyphosate is a Roundup herbicide. You spray it in the field, it will kill each and every plant. It will kill each and every plant. I'll give you the detail of glyphosate action when I take up a lecture on developing herbicide resistant plant. So I will take one lecture on this. In this lecture, I will tell you the detail how this glyphosate is acting in the plant, and it is acting as a competitive inhibitor to an enzyme EPSPS. And this enzyme, if it get blocked, the plant stop producing aromatic amino acids, and in the absence of aromatic amino acids, plant die because it's not able to undertake many metabolic processes, including protein synthesis. Glyphosate resistant tobacco and soybean, tomato, tobacco and soybean plants has been generated by altered GOX gene, which is EPSPS, nothing more than that. The glyphosate tolerant petunia, carrot, tobacco and tomato plant expressing elevated, this is another way of getting the resistant plant, that the protein is expressed at an elevated level. This can be achieved by the mutations in the transcriptional factors, or in the we call them as promoter region, but not as effective as altered EPSPS enzyme as in case of bacterial resources. So this all has been done in case of development of the herbicide resistant. Theoretically possible, any enzyme targeted herbicide, it is relatively easy to change the or mutate a plant to select the herbicide resistant plants. So other target for soma clonal variations are biotic stress tolerant plant. We can get the biotic stress tolerant plant that is has tolerant to a particular pathogen, that is not the viruses here, but the pathogen like fungal pathogen which is producing a particular antigen, or bacterial pathogens that can be targeted to, or abiotic stress such as salt tolerant, temperature tolerant, drought tolerant plants can be selected by that. So these are the target traits for the soma clonal variation. But there are other target trait in floriculture. Floriculture, this can be altered flower color. So second, it can be uh, altered flower architecture. Or it can be in horticulture, fruit color, or it can be shelf life of fruits. So these kind of traits can be target for the soma clonal variations. Through soma clonal variation, we can get this. Another is when say in case of vegetables and other say a size, fruit size, flower size. The flowers are used in vegetable. Many vegetables are used as flower, as in cauliflower. Fruit size of any vegetable, that's cucumber, beans, or something brinjal, tomato, all that. This can be. So tomato shelf life is another target for this. So these kind of variations can be induced in the plants. So these are the some of the disease resistant crops which has been developed by soma clonal variation. So alfalfa, Lycotrichum, banana, Fusarium wilt, coffee, Lycotrichum. So these are the pathogens for which the resistant has been selected through the soma clonal variations in the plants, which work has been taken up. Requirements for soma clonal variation or mutation breeding. Effective screening procedure is a very important thing. I have discussed which more mutations are deleterious, so we must select the right kind of mutation. Most of these are recessive, and we may have to go either we have to go through the haploid production, or we have to go through the field screening through sexual reproduction. So these are the one with the clear objective. An effective screening procedure with clear objective and strategy needs to be adopted to get the desired result in this case. So field-based screening of these soma clonal derived plants. So key strategies are generations. So we have to go for the different generations to select. I have discussed all this bits. That selection strategy in the field. In the field also we have to provide the selection pressure. Suppose drought resistant, we have to provide the drought resistance of the field. Suppose pathogen resistant, we have to provide the pathogen pressure, and we have to undertake the biotesting for all that bioassays, and then a particular test designs are to be developed, and these designs are also available with the conventional breeding material, and we can use those designs in order to get that. So that is all. Thank you very much. Any questions from your side? You can put me the questions. Students, any questions, bache?
No, sir.
So is that clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
So Astha, you will tell me today all the topics, and I will see it on the LMS. The topics which I need to load, I will load them back. Complete the list today. Okay? Hello? Astha is there or not? I don't think she is there. No, she is not there. So who will do this job? Hello? Anyone? Anusha? Himani? Himani?
Yes, sir, I can do this.
So you tell me the topic which I have covered, all topic on the email, and then I'll look at the LMS, and the remaining topic I will load it up there.
Okay, sir.
Okay, bye. So I end the meeting. Bye for now.